The first thing I'd say is that, there's a headline from Wall Street Journal saying, will the FTX crypto customers ever see their money again? And unfortunately, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think the answer is probably no. FTX filed for bankruptcy on November 11th. The attorney for the bankruptcy says, quote, only a fraction of FTX digital assets have been located and secured, but we know that they have managed to find somewhere about $1 billion of assets. The problem with that is that the creditors are owed over $3 billion. So there's not even a third of the money the creditors need, and so the creditors are going to be first in seniority to get their money back. You, as the depositor, have no recourse. You're at the end of the line. And so what we know is that they've only been able to find about a third of what the creditors are owed. My guess is it's actually probably even way less than that. A lot of the assets they have right now are cryptocurrency assets, which are just losing value. And my guess is the money they're able to find is going to be only a fraction of what's going to be owed to the debtors, to the creditors. And you as a depositor will most likely not get anything. Now, I don't want to crush your dreams and your hopes, but I think that's going to be the case. And what we can really hope is that there's going to be some justice here, that Sam Bankman-Fried and his cohorts will be held up for justice of stealing these people's money. I am appalled why he's not already in handcuffs right now. When Bernie Madoff was finally found out that he was running one of the biggest Ponzi's that we've seen in U.S. history, he was handcuffed immediately. We just saw Elizabeth Holmes from Theranos. She just got sentenced to 11.25 years in prison for defrauding sophisticated investors. Here, Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF, stole from you, from retail, not from sophisticated accredited investors, from retail people. And what did he do with it? It says right here, Bankman-Fried's FTX senior staff and parents bought Bahamas properties worth $300 million. Now, Sam Bankman-Fried, supposedly, I don't need any money. I don't want to be rich. I just drive a Toyota Corolla. I'm giving all my money to charity. Meanwhile, he was living a lie. He was living in I think a $30 million mansion. And he gave his parents and staff $300 million worth of property. Now, his parents, so Sam Bankman-Fried, it's a hyphenated last name. One of his parents is Bankman, and one of his parents is Fried. I believe it's the father's Bankman, his mother's Fried. They're both attorneys. They're both tax attorneys, and they're both they're both professors. And they're both heavily involved into the Democratic Party. They're bundlers, so they raise money for the Democratic Party. And his father writes policy for Elizabeth Warren. So when you're a tax law professor teaching and writing regulations for Elizabeth Warren, you know better. All right? You know better. You're not just some unsophisticated person. You don't just take $300 million worth of property out of this. I'll call it what it is, a conspiracy. It says here, attorneys for FTX said on Tuesday that one of the company's units spent $300 million in the Bahamas buying homes and vacation properties for its senior staff, and that FTX was run as a personal fiefdom. So we already talked about that. So $300 million. Luxury beachfront homes, including 7 condominiums in an expensive resort called Albany, costing almost $72 million for that one. $72 million. So, Sam Bankman-Fried, I just want to get rich so I can save the world, and I just drive a Corolla, and I don't care about money. Meanwhile, living in a $72 million resort called Albany. So, not only is he a liar, he's a scammer, he's a fraudster, and yet he's still not in handcuffs. Still not in handcuffs. As a matter of fact, it's not that he's just not even still not in handcuffs, which is incredible on its own. On top of that, the New York Times still has him scheduled to speak at an upcoming meeting on November 30th. He's booked to speak with the same stage and meeting as Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, and President Zelensky from Ukraine. And this isn't just like they haven't got around to updating the website. I've been following this, and they just updated the website, and they took down somebody and they put up Ben Affleck, the actor. So they just updated to put him on there. They couldn't have updated to take Sam Bankman-Fried off. He's still scheduled to speak. He's not in handcuffs. I mean, this is just insanity. On the flip side, we have, I've talked about this before. There's a developer that wrote a piece of software for like a cryptocurrency project. He wrote a piece of software. He didn't use it. He created it that other people could use. It's called Tornado Cash. Alex Pertasev is to remain in jail until at least late February. So this guy, a Russian national living in the Netherlands, was accused of facilitating money laundering by developing an app. So he created an app that other people used. Supposedly they use this illegally, allegedly. He didn't. He just created a piece of software that people used potentially illegally. We don't know. He was arrested immediately. He's being held indefinitely, and he's not even scheduled to have even a hearing until February for creating a piece of software that potentially, allegedly, people might use for things that might be potentially illegal. Maybe. If they find out. Doesn't matter. He got picked up. He's being held indefinitely, and maybe he'll get his hearing in February, and maybe they'll find something. Think about that for a minute. But SBF is parading around town and still scheduled to go hold talks and appearances. The one thing that you can tell about the position of the state or your government is how they prosecute crimes. How do they prosecute crimes against their own citizens? So how are they prosecuting crimes that SBF has committed against the citizens of the United States versus how do they prosecute crimes against their own power? So here's a Netherlands resident from Russia that created a piece of software, and look what the U.S. is doing, and look what they're doing to somebody like Sam Bankman-Fried, who literally defrauded billions of dollars from U.S. citizens, and they're doing nothing. They're still propping him up. They're still allowing him to speak on the same stage with the U.S. Secretary of Treasury, Janet Yellen. It's a sad day. It's a sad day when you can see the position of the state by how they prosecute crimes against their citizens versus crimes against themselves. Tax evasion? Oh, that's 15 years. Oh, $10 billion from citizens? No worries. We'll still invite you to speak at the White House.